turning point of the American Revolution happens at Assumpink Creek on a bridge. And George Washington puts the British on notice that this is not going to be an easy war. Let's dive in. George Washington had to face Cornwallis and the British, and they were on the north side, coming down from Princeton, New Jersey, which was 20 miles away, on New Year's in 1777, after we had won the first Battle of Trenton. But George Washington won that against the Hessians. He didn't take on the British themselves, the big boys. And this was different. George Washington was basically running away because he went back over after we won the first Battle of Trenton back into Pennsylvania. It wasn't good enough. The soldiers didn't have to re-enlist. He had to basically beg them to re-enlist, draw on their patriotism, and also offer them $10 each just to stay on 6 weeks longer in 1777, because the war wasn't going well. We had loss after loss after loss. We lost New York, the Americans, in the War of Independence. We lost at Fort Lee. George Washington was on the run. And he went across the Delaware River to hide, basically, and make a plan. And after that first Battle of Trenton against the Hessians, that was fine. That was a victory, but it wasn't good enough. It wasn't good enough. So what would be good enough? Well, what would be good enough was getting them to re-enlist and showing them a victory. So they're going to come, and they should have won. And George Washington, what he does is he has his general, actually Demroy first, go up and try to stop them because they're coming down, and he can't have them get here while it's still light out because they can just cross a bridge like this. This is not that old Assumpink bridge. And doing it again here in Trenton and making a stand, because you have to take on the king himself and Cornwallis to show the British this is going to be a long war. This is not going to be an easy war for you. It's right around here. And I'm showing you the Assumpink Creek here. So how does he do it? He has Demroy first, who ends up drunk in Trenton. I mean, he basically runs away from his duties trying to hold off the British at other creeks up there on their march to Trenton here. Has to be replaced by Colonel or General Hand. So he gets replaced, and Hand does a great job. He has 1,000 men. George Washington has 5,000 men on this side, right? The south side of the creek. He holds them off until 5 p.m. And it's January 2nd, 1777. So it gets dark early, I can tell you, and it's cold and it's freezing. All that Cornwallis honestly has to do, and here's the other side of this bridge. Let me turn around for you. All he has to do is cross the bridge, and he'll have George Washington pinned against the Delaware River over there. George Washington can't just cross again. He doesn't have the boats there, and they wouldn't be able to get away. So he has to face them off at this bridge. He has to. And he has to hold them off. Because if they cross, he's going to be captured. Yeah, you can retreat theoretically all the way back to Philadelphia, but can you? Can you? You can't get out of New Jersey without boats. So you're on the run. And remember, his people need a victory here. They just re-enlisted. He borrowed all that money. He promised to pay Robert Morris back. And they need a win. So is Cornwallis going to cross? Does he have the guts to cross and win while the opportunity presents itself? Yes, he does. He tries to go over 3 times. And he's getting shot at. you know, we have the artillery here on the south side. Let me show you the south side. And we're firing at him from every direction. And he's repulsed, and the British are repulsed 3 times. And it's dark out. So after the 3rd time, he retreats back to the north side of the creek, of the Assumpink Creek. And they're going to stay there for the night. But both Cornwallis over there with the British and George Washington over here on the south side are going to hold councils of war. Because they have to figure out what they're going to do for the next morning, January 3rd. Because the battle isn't over. If George Washington stays, it's over in the morning. It's over. And the American Revolution might as well be lost. So he has to do something. And what they decide on, and what he kind of had to plan anyway to do, was go after Princeton. But how's he going to do that? The British are right over there. Why can't they just cross over and capture them? Why doesn't Cornwallis do that? Cornwallis says, oh, I'll catch the sly fox in the morning. Yeah, are you? Are you, Cornwallis? No, you're not. Because George Washington isn't going to wait for you. George Washington, with his council, says, we got to get out of here. We held him off. Yeah, a historic stalemate. But really, because what he does is say, well, we're going to go undetected to Princeton and beat you there because you left 1,400 troops up there in Princeton. So that's going to be a victory, and then you'll be pushed back all the way to Brunswick, New Jersey, and you're in for a long war. You're not just going to get a quick victory. Britain should have won this war. They should have been able to cross. Down there, the Assumpink Creek isn't that hard to cross. But they weren't able to do it. They weren't able to. This was their chance to win the American Revolution. And there wouldn't have been a victory. Not the way it happened, anyway. So he leaves. He sets up campfires, and he basically leaves 400 troops behind to fool the British into thinking, oh yeah, well, the Americans are just staying there and they'll wait for us in the morning like idiots, and we'll go in and we'll just win the war. We'll capture George Washington and we'll get the Americans. They're not that bright, right? So, but that doesn't happen. He goes undetected for 14, 18 miles down a road that's undefended to Princeton. And it's gonna lead, and I'll tell you, I'm gonna give it away to a victory. And Britain is now on notice from George Washington himself and the Americans that this is not gonna be an easy war at all. And it is the turning point because, yeah, they call it a stalemate. We didn't defeat, theoretically, the British here. But you know what? It was the psychological victory. It was George Washington saying, we can last forever. How are you going to beat us for 50 years? We were the ones living here, not the British. It was our territory. We were going to defend it. And people were willing to die for it.